Hi, I'm Will Cedric.
I'm Gabe.
And I'm Ellis.
And this is Inside the Bot. Hey guys, how's it going? Gabe, you alright?
I'm good. How are you doing? How are you doing, Ellis?
Yeah, I'm not bad, thanks. Nice to be here.
We got a guest.
Nice to be here.
We got a guest. And it's Ellis. Ellis,
Yep.
you have a company. We're going to do an early sponsor, then you can do your other sponsors afterwards. But I want you to do your first sponsor. What company?
Wranglebox is me.
So Ellis is the CEO of Wranglebox.
I made a free website.
He's got a website. And what do you do? What does Wranglebox do?
So I supply lots of the little motors and gearboxes for featherweights and beetleweights and that sort of thing in the UK and European scene, and also I do commissions for designing and often building fighting robots.
So Ellis, Wranglebox, I'm going to say genius robot designer. There you go. Ellis is the CEO of Wranglebox.
Elusive Wranglebox.
They seek him everywhere. Oh, inside the shop. And we're not interested in my shop because it keeps on having the same thing all the time. I'm interested in Ellis's shop. So Ellis, tell us what you've been doing inside the shop.
Well, at the end of this week, we've got Insomnia at the NEC, which is the featherweight competition. And so I'm desperately trying to make T3 run again after it ever so slightly had a small fire not too long ago. So I'm rebuilding that, and I'm hoping to make it Pulsar theme. So that means a complete strip down and a repaint and that sort of thing. So as soon as I get off this, I'm going to go turn on the 3D printer and get on with it.
Stealth bomber look.
Yeah, well, yeah, sort of thing. And I want to have bright, like yellow, gold LEDs. Oh, voice crack there. Wow, coming up through the panels and all the cutouts and stuff. It should look pretty cool.
Oh, sweet. So for anyone who doesn't know, T3 is your featherweight fighting robot.
It is, yeah.
And it originally, at the moment, I believe, is black and white. Is that true?
Yeah, it started off as Hardox Brown because I didn't have time to paint it for its first event, and then I painted it in kind of pure white and pure black, and that looked pretty cool. But I want to kind of tie it to Pulsar if possible, because that'd be cool as well.
It's getting this branding.
Branding is important. I don't even know enough about it, but everything, all my stuff is meant to come from Aperture Laboratories, including Sabretooth.
Sabretooth, really?
Yeah, it was built. What?
I was thinking, what is the brief for Legion, your latest featherweight? Wasn't it? It was some sort of space printer, I think, was part of the rundown.
No. I think you made
It does
that
look
up.
like a space printer.
So just so everyone knows, anyone who's actually does, if they bother to follow it, Legion is my featherweight flipping robot, and actually I started off quite well, looking fairly similar, but I asked Ellis to get involved, and he actually designed the fourth version of Legion, completely from scratch, really, with a few sort of guidelines from me, and it is actually meant to be a cleaning robot from the Aperture Laboratory.
Nice.
That was it.
So it flips out the parts. So that's why
I remember cleaning robot. I do remember something about printers. I'm convinced of it, and I think the other one was
it's meant to look
some
like
kind of tank.
That's right.
Well.
It's meant to look like a printer.
It does look like a printer.
So I gave Ellis a fairly loose brief.
Loose brief, yeah. Printer space tank.
Yeah, space tank, loose brief, and then obviously showed him my designs before, and then we worked together. And actually, the design is completely from Ellis. It's very little actually from my input at all, and that all goes down to the mechanics as well. And I'm really, really pleased with that robot.
Lots of Wranglebox in that thing. Lots of threaded bar. Lots of. It's got my drive motors, speed controllers from Wranglebox.
Pumped full. And to be honest...
this is all getting cut out. I'm furious about this.
If you can afford it and he has the space for you, then he is an amazing robot designer. But I'm going to tell everyone now, Ellis, that he's not like a normal person. He's more like a painter.
Oh, thanks.
He's more like a painter, so he needs the headspace to design a robot. Really, he really needs to actually feel it.
You can't design 3 robots at the same time and have all 3 robots come out as without any compromises. It just doesn't work. It is in the least kind of arty-farty way possible. It is a bit of an art, and you've got to be able to, have a shower and not have to try and think about 17 different things. You need to be thinking about the one thing in order to do it right. So
cleaning your body.
Yeah. Yes, at the same time, thinking about getting
Don't forget about that when you're in the shower, otherwise you end up taking loads of showers.
Always make sure that you've got a soap with a nice rope hanging around yourself, and then as the shower just empties on you, it soaps your feet.
Always clean inside your bot as well.
Oh my god.
What the hell? I'm really sorry about that, everyone.
It's
that
terrible.
was a terrible joke. Anyway, so Ellis is like a painter. So he has, if you want a nice piece of art, you have to give him the space, and then he can produce.
So that was inside the shop.
What have we been doing in his shop? So
Inside
basically,
the shower.
Oh, the shower. That's where Roboteers get it. Because who else has a shower?
Jason Marston loves
You'll be
that shower.
surprised how few showers are had by Roboteers.
Oh, dirty. And Jason loves a shower, and that's where he gets his ideas, and he holds meetings in the shower. Ellis doesn't have many showers. And do you know what I really love? No, he does. I'm sure he does. You just said he didn't.
Not during the crunch period where he's got to finish a robot in like a week.
The event Insomnia is probably the most aptly named for Ellis entering a competition, because before a competition,
Yeah,
He
I'm
doesn't
literally
go
not
to
going to have slept before Insomnia because, this random group of people keep calling me up and saying, "Do you want to be in my podcast or whatever?" I don't know what it's all about, but yeah, they keep distracting me.
In
So
the
I would
day.
be building my robot, but I'm going to have to pull all-nighters instead now.
Hang on, all-nighters. This is going to take about half an hour to an hour and a half.
A bit more than that.
yeah,
a
but
bit more
what will
to it than
happen
that.
is Ellis will get his paints out and he'll put his oils out and everything, and then he'll go, "Oh, not feeling
Oh,
it."
not feeling it.
And then
I'm going to have a shower. And
he'll have what? Then he'll have a shower and be too clean.
He's got a lot of hair to wash as well.
He's got.
compared to us.
He has got.
I've been told that I look like I should try and get sponsorship from like shampoo companies and stuff, and I'd probably actually have a successful time.
There wasn't too much hair swishing, actually. I think
It was loads.
Was there?
It was like every time he looks up, he has to move that out of his eyes.
Believe me, that's not a lot. I can do a better toss than that.
Oh,
What now?
back to the shower.
All right. Anyway.
Anyway, so we've done Inside the Shop. I'm excited to see the new T3 in its black and blue,
Gold.
black, gold, and blue livery. Is that right?
Yeah, although I spoke to one of the sponsors I'll get to mention later,
cheeky.
and they may not be able to supply the coloured bolts in time, which is really unfortunate. So it may be just kind of bright LEDs instead of bright bolts as well, but we'll see.
Okay. Well, let's hope they can supply those. I was going to be rude about them, but they're a sponsor, so we won't.
They're trying their darndest.
They're trying their darndest. I'm sure they are. What do we get on to? Let's get on to the fight.
No news.
Oh, news. What's the
It's
news?
like you've never done this before.
I know. I'm rather
News.
sorry. I haven't got any notes. What news is there?
We got stuff sent to us.
Oh yeah.
We have to say thank you.
So who is it? Oh, Team Shenanigans and Co. Nightmare.
Well, that's us. We're members of them now.
Oh, do you know it?
Honorary members.
We're honorary members of Team Shenanigans
Really?
and Co. Which is awesome. Do you know who they are?
Of course I know.
There you go.
Will Bales, isn't it?
Will Bales, in it? You sound like
Yeah.
a little London Cockney then.
Yeah, that's where Will Bales from.
So we got Shenanigans and Co. We got Mohawk. We got Nightmare. We got.
Nightmare.
Witch Doctor sent you a little thing.
And Witch Doctor has sent me a totem so I can win a televised fight. So we got a lovely note. Hey Gabe and Will, come to America and play with the big bots. You're now members of Shenanigans and Co. Love Will. He didn't put love down, he put dash, but I'm changing it to love.
Yeah, he meant
and
love.
Hypershock. P.S. Mohawk says hi. Awesome guys. P.P.S. So do Witch Doctor and Nightmare.
Oh,
Amazing skills. So that's the news.
yeah.
Other
I mean,
news.
they've sent us stuff in. Wranglebox.com, on the other hand, nothing. No stickers.
There's scumbags there. You don't want to be them.
Terrible people.
They just don't give you anything. Well, no. It's more. I told you, it's more art based. It's like artisan. They can't-
Maybe he's going to draw us something.
I can't draw at all.
Oh,
Gabe is selling lies. I suck at drawing.
Maybe he's going to 3D print us something.
It's more
See?
likely.
Yeah, there we go.
there's his skill set.
A little robot head for inside the bot.
We have presents, so thank you guys so much for that. That's in our news. We've also got Insomnia at the end of this week. Tickets, I think, are nearly sold out or sold out for that already.
I think they might all be gone.
I think they're gone already, but that's
Yeah.
going to be awesome. And in America, we've got Dragon Con.
Well, we haven't.
Well, no,
But it's happening there.
it's
I
happening.
want to go to Dragon Con.
Well-
That looks like so much fun.
We're going next year, and you know that it's about partying all night.
Yeah.
Can you do that? Oh, you can do that because you don't go to sleep. You need to have a shower, and then we'll take you out, fill you up full of beer, and then get Will Bales to call you a punk.
Hang on, he's going to have to... He's not 21 yet, is he?
What?
Are you
Oh,
21
yeah,
at
that's a
this?
good point.
He will be
He
by
will.
then. Next
Or-
year. When are you
suppose,
21?
Yeah, that's a good point, actually.
Don't give out your birthday. But
Well, yeah, we'll get loads of cards.
no, yeah, but he'll also have his identity stolen.
That's true. I didn't think about that.
Exactly. Anyway, we've done the news. Let's do the first round.
So, on to Robot Wars. Heat E, the drum spinner strikes back.
Is that what we're calling it?
That's what I'm calling it. The
That's
drum
not-
spinner strikes back.
So, who's got the drum spinner in this?
Your boy Ellis.
Oh, yeah.
Oh.
See, he's into it.
He's smacking it there. Do you know what? I'm actually going to call it. I'm going to even call it the Mouldy as well. I think Pulsar takes the death on.
He's not going to be happy about that.
He's going to be furious, but because he reckons he invented it.
And can we say it now? Who our guest is next week?
Oh yes,
Mr. David Moulds.
yes.
So he'll have to defend himself.
Yep, he will do.
We'll see what old Mouldy's got to say about that.
Old Mouldy.
Oldie Mouldy.
He's like a fine cheese that's gone off a bit with blue veins.
Blue veins.
I'm going to eat him next week.
We're wasting so
put him on
much.
a cracker.
Stop it. Stop talking about what you're going to do to
Okay,
Mouldy.
can we do the first round?
So battle 1. We had Chomp-a-Lot, the pneumatic crusher.
Yep.
What do you think of Chomp-a-Lot?
So Chomp-a-Lot, old school robot.
Don't laugh when you say Chomp-a-Lot.
I didn't. I sneezed a bit.
Okay, alright.
Chomp-a-Lot, old school robot from what I think series 6, maybe 7.
It's around that era, yeah.
It's
Towards
about
the
that,
end of the original series, I think.
Yeah. Pretty sort of shed built, crazy shed built robot.
Old school.
Old school.
Old school machine, yeah.
Has quite a sizable hydraulic system inside it.
Yeah.
Also a lot of oil, which we'll talk about later.
But not
on.
a lot of armour.
Well, it's got a lot of shiny plastic.
And it's very light as well. It's got 11 kilograms under.
Well, it's
Probably
still,
as was, more or less, except now it's got lipos in it, so it'll be even lighter still.
Yeah,
So,
because I took out lead acids from a robot and they weighed like 8 kilos, and I put in lipos and they weighed 2. So
Yeah.
they would have already armoured up, and at
Yeah.
some point not had anywhere physically left to attach bits of metal.
That's probably why, like Supernova, I was surprised to see in a few episodes back that they only weighed, 97 kilos or something like that, or it was even less, I think. They were really underweight, and that'll be because it's more or less the same robot, but they've put in lipos.
Exactly.
So then we've got Ironside 3.
Yeah.
Yep.
Looks pretty solid.
Yep.
Scary robot.
Ellis, can you talk us through Ironside? What's your knowledge if I pressed you on your expert knowledge
I
of
don't
Ironside?
actually know an awful lot about it. I think the weapon is powered by two A28 400 mag motors. I don't know what kind of voltage they're running. So there's a pretty serious amount of power behind that.
Yep.
And I think it's geared for about 1500 RPM or something, but the point is it should get there pretty quickly. So, it's a fairly consistent spinner.
Yeah.
And very, very heavy bar. So, yeah, fairly terrifying.
So I believe it's got 4 long mag motors in it, which is 2 for the drive and 2 for the weapon. And the long mag, what was that?
I think the drive ones might not have been like the neodymium long mags. I think they might have been I think what they call the economy mags or something like that. I'm not sure they're the high end ones.
Yeah.
But they still obviously it drove just fine, drove well. So
No, it's nice. And the long mags are the same as Hypershock has in its drive.
Yeah.
2 either side. So this has got 2 for the weapon. So
Yeah.
you can equate the sort of power. They've got a nice big heavy piece of Hardox bar spinner. And this
I think they had 2 bars because they say on the show that it's the heaviest there.
No, I think what happened was they were obviously Trev was building it. I think it was too heavy because the bar in the beginning is solid and quite chunky, and then it goes off and gets cut, doesn't it? So it slims itself.
I like the new one. It looks really cool. It's got a nice shape to it. It's not like as simple as it could be. They've actually kind of designed it. Which is cool.
And this is a Super Nails Hardox box, and it's also a big version of their featherweight.
Oh, okay.
It's 3.
Which was it called? Oh yes, hence 3 because the other one's called Ironside 2, isn't it? Is it?
Yeah, well, the current featherweight is Ironside 2, and they did have an Ironside 1. I think Ironside 1 didn't have a bar. Again, I might be wrong, but from memory, I was at the event that ran at, but I don't remember it very much. I think it had might have been a hardened steel, like small disc with lots of teeth, and I think it shattered.
Oh, okay.
That was several years ago, and then Ironside 2 is got a massive titanium bar in the featherweight class, and it's that one that this one's very true to, just on a big scale.
And so that one's pretty cool, and it's got a little axe that self-rights it.
Yep.
We'll talk about that a little bit as well. What's the other robot?
There's one called Pulsar.
Oh, yes, Pulsar. Tell us about Pulsar, Ellis.
Well, I've heard of that one. I don't know a lot about it.
Built in a shed, I think.
Built in a shed.
Yeah, built in a garage, technically.
It's a garage.
Yeah, it's a garage.
Tell us
But no,
about it. Give us a rundown.
So Pulsar, as was Rebel Wars, weighs 107 kilos. It's got a single tooth drum spinner on the front, kind of a bit like Hypershock's, in that it's 2 discs kind of either side of a cylinder. The drum weighs, I think, about 14.5 kilos, and at peak should be hitting about 9,000 RPM, probably more like 8.5, that sort of thing. So in terms of energy, that puts it at the same potential energy as PP3D, spinning vertically, even obviously it's so much more smaller. And the cool thing about Pulsar is that it's entirely brushless. So the weapon is running brushless, which is fairly common in the smaller weight classes, but the drive is also running on brushless motors, which is kind of I think Big Nipper might have been running brushless at the show as well, but it's pretty much a first in the UK heavyweight scene. So,
cool. And what's your tip speed?
Tip speed is 220 miles an hour on the tip of the weapon.
So do you reckon that's over boasting, or have you been conservative?
That's completely real, as far as I know. That's we actually listened to the sound of it spinning, and obviously my dad's a sound engineer, so we took from that how fast it must be spinning based on the tone of it. And based on that, I can extrapolate 220 miles an hour is the real tip speed. Theoretical is like 250 something, I think.
Oh, and can I just have kudos to Pete there, Ellis's dad, for excellent sound skills and maths/physics.
Providing this microphone.
So, and providing the microphone, which is nice. Yeah. So, hats off to him there. So, you've got brushless drive all the way around. You've designed this robot in, how long did it take you to put together?
Well, like most people, I heard that Robot Wars was coming back just after Christmas 2015, and obviously filming, I think, was 1st of March or 2nd of March was the first day of filming, that sort of thing. So from hearing that Robot Wars is back to needing to be completely finished was 9 weeks, give or take. And I probably spent 4 or 5 weeks of that kind of deep in CAD and organisation, and then the last few weeks spent desperately trying to build it in time with all the parts arriving in the post. So that was the time frame, really, really tight.
Why did you decide to go with such modern bells and whistles on your robot rather than just doing the old standard route for building your robot?
2 reasons, I think. The more interesting reason is because, I just kind of like getting the opportunity to go on Robot Wars and that sort of thing. In a way, I kind of didn't want to do something which is just enough to work. I wanted to try and do the absolute best that I possibly can. Inside the time frame and with the resources I have. So that sort of means expanding on the style that I have in the featherweights, which is the same kind of laser or water jet cut panels held together with lots of bolts. In fact, no welding on any of my feathers or on the heavyweight. Mm-hmm. So there was that sort of thing, and I wanted to make the most of it. So I didn't want to import mag motors or whatever it might be, and so I wanted to kind of not be revolutionary, it's far too decorative of a word, but do something that's a bit new. The less interesting answer is money. Importing the high-end mag motors, they're $400 from Robot Marketplace. Then you've got import and shipping costs on top of that. So I imagine they're in the order of about 400 quid landed each without any spares. So if I, for example, wanted to use those for drive, I'd be looking at £1,200 just for the motors, including just one spare. Whereas the brushless motors, although they've got lots of quirks and they're really fiddly to use, were actually about 130 each in the UK.
Okay.
So money was one of the main reasons, really, that I kind of went with brushless and went with that style.
I'm also going to point out that Ellis, I think don't know you very well, but fairly well, in that he's not interested in building a robot unless it's going to be amazing or different or challenging. Would that be fair to say, Ellis?
Well, maybe challenging would be fair. Like as I say, I don't want to build something, or not even that I don't. I'm less interested in building something that is kind of already really well documented. I'm more interested in doing stuff that's new or a bit different, or a bit off the wall, and or visually exciting or whatever it might be. So that's sort of why Pulsar isn't maybe more simple inside.
Yeah, and that goes with the sort of the artist part. Got to be inspired to build it.
Were there any points in the build where you were really wishing you had someone to talk to, like a support person, or like other people who have gone down that route before, whereas you found yourself kind of lost?
Well, I mean, it was hard at times. The hardest part of the build for me was probably not building it or designing it. It was actually organisation and acquiring sponsors and support and just the admin side, because I called it kind of orchestrating, because I've never actually done a project on this scale or even remotely near this scale. In fact, all the previous fighting robots I've built put together still weigh 40 kilos less than Pulsar. Yeah. So I'd never really done anything where I had to call up companies or present myself or whatever it might be. So that was the single most challenging bit. And yeah, at times some advice would have been good then. But, it's a learning experience. In terms of actually building the thing, I think I tend to like working solo. That's always kind of from a very young age. I can work in a team, but I do like working solo. It kind of works well for me. And I've got very supportive parents, as you saw on the show. So I was never actually alone during the build. The garage is attached directly to the house, so that I can always pop outside and ask for a cup of tea, and it would probably be made if I asked nicely enough. So that's all good.
What do your parents think of all the late night shenanigans while you're building the robot?
They desperately wish I would organise myself better, I think. I mean, again, they're very, very supportive when it all kind of goes that way. But before every single event, they always kind of very quietly and casually say, maybe we can organise this one a bit better so that we don't, have the awful rush, because it's just incredibly stressful for everyone. And I go, yeah, I know, no, it'll be fine. And then obviously it always happens again. And that will happen this weekend as well. I know it in advance. So yeah, I think it does get a bit tiring for them in a way.
They're not as young as you, Alice.
No, well, I mean, I can sort of shrug off not sleeping for 30 hours. I mean, you feel like crap, but I can do that. Whereas my poor dad actually fell quite ill towards the start of Robot Wars, where he was staying up towards the last day or two, who was also staying up with me because we're trying to assemble it, and that was kind of faster with two people. And yeah, by the time we actually at Robot Wars and filming the first day or two, he was really unwell, which is not fun.
You're just laughing at feeling
That's terrible.
Well, I mean,
He's the worst son ever.
Yeah, well, I remember it fondly because it was so hectic. It was just nuts, the whole thing.
I mean, no, we had exactly the same thing where you go crazy and you're building, and just not enough time. Anyway, Thermidor 2.
I love Thermidor.
Legend.
Ever since we spoke to, so for anyone who didn't listen to our last podcast,
Idiots.
leave them alone. They've got a chance to get our forgiveness by listening to it.
Yeah.
It's a little pre-episode chat with Mr. Thermidor 2 himself, David Harding, and Will Bales.
And Mr. Harding does sound like we're keeping him in a marsh. But
He's so
that's
good.
to do with his internet connection, I think.
No, we phoned him.
Oh no, we phoned him.
We had him phoned in.
Lessons learnt there, I think. Again, we need a clearer signal.
Well, he was on his mobile in the middle of wherever he's from.
So we won't say where he lives.
I think it's on the website.
It's a marshy environment. Anyway, so now, did you get a chance? What?
Thermidor 2.
That's what we're talking about.
Okay, good.
Shut
All
up.
right.
I'm going to talk to Ellis about it. Ellis, you didn't probably get a chance to go and look at Thermidor 2, did you? Because you're pretty busy, really going crazy with the robot. Or
Yeah, I mean, obviously that was the first fight, so I was still trying to get Pulsar to even move under its own power for the first time. But I did get a chance to go and have a look at Thermidor because I remember the team and Thermidor really well. They're one of those robots that you never forget. So I remember watching them pretty much from the very beginning. So it was really bizarre for me to be like face to face with this robot and this team that I, in a way, know so intimately. Like I played the video games as Thermidor and stuff.
Oh, cool! That's awesome. I love that.
So, and that was absolutely crazy. So actually, did have a chance to go and have a look at Thermidor. Not much in great detail, but I went over when some of the panels were off, and I was really impressed actually that yes, it's an old school machine and it's got some old school styling and like the armor is pretty thin and stuff. But from a design point of view, it's incredible. Like that machine is so compact, and everything. It's a different kind of compact to Pulsar because Pulsar's kind of very flat, whereas obviously Thermidor's got that kind of shape where it's got the abdomen. So everything is kind of stacked on top of each other and stuff. Some incredible design work has gone into that. I was really, really impressed.
It is compact, right down. It looks
yeah.
like it's been squished in like a crusher, and all the parts have been.
Yeah, I mean, it was just amazing, and I thought that there'd be more stuff inside the wheels, but if I remember right, the wheels are more or less hollow.
No, the wheels are empty. It's all
so
inside.
Everything that makes that robot go is in the abdomen at the back. Like there's no other room.
No.
So it's incredible how they did that with
lead acid.
Lead acid, yeah. Like where? How?
Where the heck are they keeping stuff? So we got Thermidor, Pulsar,
Ironside 3,
and Chompalot. So let's do the fight. Ellis, do you want to talk us through that fight?
Well, I don't remember an awful lot from at the time, but obviously watching it back, it kind of refreshes your memory. So the way it starts off is you can see Pulsar just kind of, I just seem to reverse and just kind of get the hell out of dodge whilst the other three go for a fight, and that seems to be how the edit works for like the next 30 seconds or minute of the fight. And then you hear the noise of Pulsar, but by the time that you hear it, I seem to not be able to move very well. And what's actually happened is the editing is a bit funky there, but within the first 15 or maybe 20 seconds, I was having radio issues, and it was partly they attacked, and fair and square. I got absolutely clobbered on the side, on the left-hand wheel by Ironside. Now, the sides of Pulsar are plastic. They're thick plastic, but they are still plastic. And unfortunately, the hit was so hard that it bent in the plastic, and some of the bolts and nuts and bolts that hold the plastic together smacked the wheel, and that destroyed the wheel. And so I was limping within like the first 20 seconds. So the others go off for the fight, and Ironside is destroying everything. I don't remember if they got a big hit on Thermidor, did they?
Yes, I think they did. They hit Thermidor pretty hard on the wheel, and because if you notice, just after your bit of your minute where you're sort of not doing much or appear not to be doing,
we just hear this sound.
We just hear the sound.
But if
you notice, Thermidor at that point is actually going around in circles. So he's already had his drivetrain smashed, and I think that smashed the Bosch 750 inside as well. So it's pretty mullered, that was. But exposed wheels, and unless you can drive like Will Bales. You got one wheel broken, semi-exposed wheels. Thermidor goes out. There's some good shenanigans with the other ones.
Now this is interesting on the exposed wheels front. One of the things that the Americans were saying when we questioned them about their exposed wheels were, if you protect them and then you get hit by a spinner, they can buckle in. The protection can buckle in and stop your drive. And it's kind of what we saw in this fight.
It is sort of. The problem is that the wheels I was using are actually massive 8-inch caster wheels. So they're not designed for combat experiences. And the reason I used them is because they had pretty decent grip and they were the right size and they're available and they were cheap. So they just happen to be blue. So the blue theme just literally comes from the wheels. But I think, I don't know what the core is, but it might be polypropylene or some sort of quite brittle plastic.
It shattered, didn't it?
So any amount of direct hit, it could have been tiny, and those were doomed anyway. So I think I probably was better off with the armour, although obviously in this case it was kind of irrelevant.
So in this fight here, Chompalot actually been doing some chewing, but Chompalot have taken a proper battering from Ironside 3. I mean, a battering. It's not actually completely evident, really, is it, from the amount of battering they were taking?
Well, I don't know. Pull the panel off.
No, but it's beyond that. If you actually saw it in real life, it was absolutely battered.
Everything was twisted, wasn't it? I mean, it took it better than Pulsar did, in that Pulsar one hit and it was pretty much out, whereas Chompalot just kept on.
It was driving at the end, so it was still managing to get about.
This is not like a jab at all at Simon and Debs, but I thought it was actually driving a bit better after a few hits.
It just needed.
I actually spoke to them about this at the show, and they agreed. So that was
maybe it loosened it up a bit.
Interesting.
Yeah. So Chompalot get mullered. Ironside 3 pretty much have done a devastating round for everyone there, and Trev and the crew, Louise and Adam and the other one, who I don't know who that is.
You've embarrassed yourself.
No, I just don't remember her name. All go through. So kudos to them. Now,
awesome.
What have we got next? Do you know the next head-to-head? I've got.
You mean the next battle, the four-way battle?
Oh, the next four-way. Oh yeah. Who's in the next four-way battle?
We've got a Beast.
So Beast is a flipper robot. Lots of stuff from the live circuit with Beast. Been fighting for ages and ages. It's
very experienced team.
Very experienced team. Really experienced builder.
Both in featherweights and the heavies.
Yeah,
So.
I mean, lots of trophies from this team. So this is going to be something to be excited by. Full pressure flipper.
You got the space frame chassis sort of thing going on?
Yeah. So like tubular chassis, all the parts showing, and that's the same. He pretty much builds robots. A lot of robots look like that.
They kind of made a bit of a fuss about that, about how it's a silly idea to come into Robot Wars without any armour. But I mean, John has been building very, very successful featherweights for I don't know how long. So he's on version 9 now of the Beauty series, which is basically featherweight scale beasts. I think all but one of those didn't have any armour, or at least have the same style, where in the featherweight case they're titanium rods instead of steel tubes, but it's the same design style. And of course they fight full combat feathers, which at the same scale is more vicious than the heavyweight stuff, at least at the moment. Of course, everybody in the robot crowd sort of know that actually that's not really that big of a deal, but it does look a bit funky.
It does. Good gimmick for TV to say that.
Yeah.
Who else is in this round?
Got Crazy Coupe 88.
Crazy Coupe 88. Now, I'm going to be honest. Coupe?
I think there's
It's got an E on the end, doesn't it?
Yeah, but it hasn't got the thing. The inflection.
I noticed how I haven't said anything because I'm still not entirely sure how to pronounce it.
Anyway, do you know what? I must confess, I know very little about this.
Let's call it CC88.
CC88. So the chap, though, I think it's Tyrone, he's got a lovely moustache, and he builds a robot, old school robot, and I think he's whipped it out of the shed. I think he must have come on Robot Wars before. I don't remember.
I'm not entirely sure where they've come from. I mean, I get the feeling they're old school builders. They're not new to this. That machine was not like a first robot, from what I could tell. It was an old school robot. But
it's looking old school. It's got exposed wheels. It's got some crappy armour on it, and two weird
diamond
weapons.
checker plate.
What are they playing at? Why has it got the two weapons? Just make one big one.
Oh, again.
Yeah, but that's the thing. That's the kind of the sign of it being an old school machine, and that's more of an approach from back in the day. And also, as I say, the checker plate armour that is so classic Robot Wars. It's fantastic.
It's like Hypnodisc.
Exactly. Yeah. So checker plate armour is kind of. I think Hypnodisc was really thick. I don't know where they got it from.
It's like 10 mil thick, wasn't it?
Yeah. I don't know what kind of step needs 10 mil thick aluminium, but
a giant step. Who else?
Then we got you,
Gabriel.
Oh, right. I was really confused for a second.
I was confused for a second there. I thought, what? I'm not in that.
I didn't lose this one as well.
What? Don't laugh, Ellis. That's not funny.
Ellis,
so we've got Gabriel, which is a crazy, monstrous robot.
Stinger on steroids.
It is Stinger on steroids.
Obviously, Craig has been building machines again. I don't know how long. I don't think they were on the original Robot Wars, but they've been on a live circuit for many, many years. And Gabriel, I think, what was the other one? It was Saint is the other big heavyweight thwackbot that they've got.
It's got a biblical theme going on.
Yeah, and so they've been doing that style of machine for years, and they always get kind of not hate, but they're always just kind of ignored. But you know, that's what I'm saying. People always kind of dismiss them, but they're always actually very competitive and always very reliable, and it always is surprising, which is silly, really, because you'd think people would start to, stop having that same opinion.
And it's very disconcerting having your name written on some other people's tops, and when people call Gabriel, you go, "What was that?"
Yeah.
So it's obviously an unusual name. So Gabriel, big old thwack bot. What's the next one?
Infernal Contraption.
Now this is an old school bot.
Yep.
I
like it.
From a university, and actually, do you know what? Out of all the old school bots, this has got the potential, I think, to be the most vicious.
I love Infernal Contraption. I just love the wacky design concept where I didn't realise this until yesterday, actually. I saw a video they put up on their Facebook page, but as they said on the show, I think briefly, the machine is split into 3 parts, which is the wheel, the centre, and then the other wheel. And they're all independent from a battery and motor and radio point of view. So I didn't realise this, but the shafts are stationary, and then there are gears that are fixed stationary to those shafts. And the way they've done it is the drive motors and speed controllers and batteries and stuff are actually attached to the inside rim of the wheel and go around with it.
What? Really? That's crazy.
It's absolutely nuts. So when it drives forwards, it's not that the motor is stationary and the wheel goes round around the motor. It's that the motor is actually spinning around inside with it.
It's driving round the axle.
Yeah.
Mental.
Yeah, it's spinning itself kind of around pulling itself around the axle. So completely wacky design, and again, just fantastic.
Let's look at the fight.
Will, can
you talk us through this one?
So crazy. CC88 was kind of flipped and left to shunt.
Yeah.
Remember that bit? It's kind of pushed over there.
Yeah.
By Beast, I think.
Did he do much? That was it.
That was it.
So less than me.
Infernal Contraption ends up in the pit.
Oh really? Oh, it's.
Oh yeah, it does.
Kind of flails around. Ends up in the pit.
Yeah.
It's unfortunate.
And Gabriel's just being Gabriel.
I was going to say,
no one can really get a hold on him, and
just flailing about, smashing stuff.
Yeah, and then the Beast just had good control. I think just stayed out of trouble, got everyone else into trouble.
Yeah,
that was it.
Their flipper wasn't very powerful in this, was it?
No.
And I think that was the same problem most people were suffering from, where it was very cold at filming, and obviously this is an early on fight, so they just didn't seem to have the bang, because that flipper is one of the top ones in the live circuit. I mean, there are a lot of flippers in the live circuits, but just like the featherweight ones are some of the most powerful in that class, the Beast is pretty much top tier in the live event. So I think everybody, including themselves, was expecting the flips to be huge, and unfortunately it just didn't work out.
No, and I think they're having drive problems as well, or something like that, weren't they?
I've got the fight going on in the background here.
They did, yeah.
I can see they're moving pretty well. I think it might have been like an intermittent issue, not an actual problem. When it was working fine.
I think they were quite good control in the first fight.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
But I think as they had some trouble in one of their fights, and I think after that it was a bit mullered.
Okay. Yeah. Okay.
I was noticing that Infernal Contraption are the ones that actually press the button and then they drove in.
They dumped themselves.
They Infernal Contraption, press the button, and then drive in a bit.
It's a bitter pill, isn't it?
So who goes through on this one?
Yeah, Beast and Gabriel.
There you go. Okay. Let's go to the first head-to-head.
So the head-to-heads. In these fights, we've got Gabriel, Chomp-A-Lot, Beast and Ironside 3.
Yeah.
For now.
Well, yeah.
Head-to-head one was Gabriel and Chomp-A-Lot.
So we just need to say, before we get on to that, before Chomp-A-Lot could make it back in, it has been ruined. I mean, ruined by Ironside 3. So, I mean, it is in pieces. Would that be fair to say, Ellis?
Yeah, I mean, the chassis was all twisted from. I don't remember very much because I was taken up with Pulsar, but it was all twisted and mangled. Panels had come off, the claw had been hit, and it was in a really sorry state. I think electrically at that point it was okay. So it went into the next fight having everyone kind of come over and try to help fix it. Then everyone kind of took their own bit of Chomp-A-Lot away, kind of hammered it flat and fixed it or welded it or whatever it needed to be, and then brought it back, and it was a really awesome community effort sort of thing happened.
So basically, and one of the things is they borrowed a few bits. So they borrowed our enormous sledgehammer. Now, who do you think would bring a sledgehammer with them for our team?
Was it Esme?
No. Who brings crazy stuff?
Was it you?
No.
Was it
Rob?
We're running out of options.
So Rob has bought... Harry didn't bring a sledgehammer, no. Rob bought the biggest sledgehammer you've ever seen. It was a massive sledgehammer. It's not a normal mini sledge, it's a sledgehammer. So we've got a sledgehammer. Oh, I'll get the sledgehammer. So we give him the sledgehammer.
But you ended up needing it.
We did need it, however...
Rob knows what he's doing.
No, because another part was appropriated from the Pulsar team. A little bit of inside the bot here. Do you remember what part was appropriated, Alice, from your team? You don't remember?
Sure. I'm not sure I do. It was such a... I don't know. So, I don't want to sound like a broken record, but I had slept in so long.
No.
At that point, I don't remember anything.
So a G-clamp was borrowed from the Pulsar team. Now he remembers. He's getting the old saltiness. So the G-clamp was used to hold down a piece of chomp, which was so badly bent it required an enormous sledgehammer. And then it also required an enormous person to wield the hammer.
Who was that?
Mr. Weston. He wielded it with almighty gusto.
Mr. Weston.
Just a bit of before story that. Yeah. That I actually gave that to Dave, who's an absolute legend. I think I remember saying, I don't actually have any more, so just if you need to use it to gronk on something, just be careful with it. Don't try and twist it or whatever, because we're very likely to need it later on in the competition. Well, at that point we didn't know we were back in a competition, but we're very likely to need it. Please don't break it. So that conversation had happened at that point. And again, this is and
if you imagine,
clarify, we're not. I was going to say we're having a jab at Dave Weston at all. He's an absolute robot genius.
No, we're not having a jab at him.
Who's Dave Weston?
We'll come across him anyway. So Ellis is so been up for 48 hours solid, and he's a bit like Jack Sparrow.
I'm fixing my gearboxes from the first fight,
like that, and he's all like, and after rum and stuff. No, he's not. But he's like Jack Sparrow, so he's like a sort of really drunk pirate. But not having consumed any stuff. Yeah, and then
be careful with my G-clamp.
Be careful with my G-clamp, man. I don't like twist it or break it or anything, man. And then Rob goes, "Yeah, good, governor. Use that massive sledge."
Yeah, I remember this differently, but okay.
You were sleep deprived. You don't remember anything.
You don't remember anything.
Oh yeah, that'd be it.
And then we found Dave outside, legend of roboteering. He's actually one of the main instigators who was fixing Chomp-A-Lot.
Yeah, he was stuck in.
Got stuck in there. I don't know which team he was on. Do you know which team he was with?
He was just there.
Hanging about. Anyway, he wielded a hammer with a plume. And then he brought the piece back.
A plume?
A plume.
Not a plum?
A plume. I'm going to be French. Shut up.
All right.
And then he came back with the piece which fitted, and Chomp-A-Lot was starting to be made whole again.
They were saved.
Ellis's G-clamp. I've never seen a heavy-duty G-clamp. Actually, I didn't believe they could be bent like that.
It was the lead.
Which part was bent?
The actual clamp
twisted.
part was twisted.
Was
actually twisted.
I don't know how or whatever. I don't know how it actually happened. But when it came back, the lead screw was like by miles missing the actual top of the G clamp. Like when you tightened it up, it still went up and down, I think, but it was probably about 25 to 30 degrees out.
Yeah.
It was and Dave Weston was again very apologetic, and it was, for Christ's sake, it was like a £4.99
it wasn't.
It was a
snap-on.
Not a big deal, but it was a funny story.
But when you actually stand Ellis next to Dave Weston, it's like Land of the Giants.
I could have been used as a hammer, probably.
He could, or a rucksack.
Yeah.
he could put him on as a rucksack.
That's a strange mental image.
I don't know what Dave Weston looks like, but it's strange even to me.
Yeah. Anyway, so Chomp-A-Lot is really, really badly broken. Before it even goes in the arena, it hasn't got all its armour on. It goes in with Gabriel, which is fully functioning. And
the batteries have been squeezed in. I remember because obviously all the panels are twisted and stuff. The battery pod or location, again, I think from memory, they had just kind of been put in as best as possible.
So basically, the LiPo batteries, which are basically tiny bombs.
I'm going to say this now. I've got a bad feeling about this.
Exactly. They're tiny bombs, and it's really going to go one way only. Now, I'm not sure what... So there's a fight, basically. Yeah. And actually, Chompy's doing all right. Chomp-A-Lot's messing about. And actually, it nearly gets a grab on Gabriel.
Did look to be falling apart a bit, though.
It's falling to bits on the way.
It was a bit weebly-wobbly at this point, yeah.
And I believe, eventually, it gets flipped by the floor flipper.
That looked to be the killing blow.
I think the floor flipper, the killing blow of the landing from the floor flipper, is what I think caused the fire. This
may have been the second weekend, in which case, by that point, I think they'd improved the storage for the CO2, and I think the floor flipper had several issues, and it was fixed by this fight. So that's why Chomp seemed to fly a bloody mile, whereas other machines have just been kind of tipped over. So that was unfortunate.
And then it ended up, it was like the perfect flip as well, and then it ended up with Shunt as well, who got an axe in.
He stuck his axe in.
I think that is what did it.
Yeah, I think that's what's finished it off.
Did that start the puncture of lipo, or
it dented in the bottom. I think there was underneath where the lipos go. It dented in one of those panels, and presumably just kind of crushed them. I don't know if it pierced them. But,
now, at this point,
if it had pierced, it would have been a lot more violent straight away, wouldn't it?
Probably, yeah.
Maybe, but it starts to smoke. It starts to pour. All Roboteers, when they see smoke, all hurl towards it, start rushing about, wanting to watch what's burning. And then, when the hydraulic oil catches, it then erupts.
Oh, was it that caught?
Yeah, that's got to be hydraulic oil. It's full of hydraulic oil, and I imagine one of the hoses was perished.
I just assumed it was a straight lipo fire.
No, because that fire's big, isn't it? Didn't you see the fire?
It was quite. It looked quite. Like normally lipo fires, when they go up, they're quite vigorous. So there's lots of fuel, obviously, because the battery is there, and so they tend to seem to kind of burn hard and fast. Whereas this seemed a bit more peaceful. It was a bit like kind of
peaceful.
This was not a peaceful fire.
Well, it's like a Viking funeral.
The house robbers there.
We got some toast out and we put it on in front of it. I think the hydraulic oil went up, I reckon.
It was a tasty fire anyway.
It was a tasty fire, and then I think that the Chomp-A-Lot team were quite upset.
Oh yeah.
Now I don't want to sound really mean,
right?
But it was nice to see how upset they got.
I thought that was it's real, isn't it?
Yeah.
Well, that's the thing. Yeah. I mean,
because you always think like, it's just some shed contraption they thrown together for some of the robots anyway. But then you see they care about this thing like more than it shows on TV. I think.
Oh well, I think all Roboteers do care about their robots.
But I know they definitely do. But they always kind of joke. They always like jokey, like it's not going to win or whatever.
Well, I mean, going back briefly to the first fight, what they don't show is me looking like I'm about to have an absolute breakdown, because I did nearly after that first fight, because the editing was quite thoughtful, but for the most part, I just got smacked in the first 15 seconds, and then it was just like twiddling about doing nothing for the remainder of the fight. So I already knew that it was the hopes and dreams had gone for that first fight. So I was absolutely distraught, and they didn't show it. But no, that I can confirm the passions involved are high.
Were there any tears from you, Gabe, after your
first fight? I was furious. I didn't eat any ice cream for a couple of hours.
For a couple of hours?
You know it's serious.
And now, see, I got a little bit longer than Ellis. did originally, so he just happened to do much better because he got the chance to come back. But yeah, it put me off my ice cream.
Spoilers.
Oh, it put me off my ice cream, and no, I'm enjoying the time as well as much as anything.
Did you smash your trailer up?
I smashed my trailer up,
Oh my
and
God.
you know what I'm doing is at this point I'm going and fiddling with Ellis's robot.
Yeah.
And his
Finish
bot,
that sentence quickly.
and just generally having a mess about with everything because my bit's done.
Getting your sticky ice cream fingers on everything.
Getting the ice cream fingers in everywhere.
On Razor's tip.
So on Razor's tip. So anyway, shut up.
That entire time that the kind of, if you want to call it the Chomp saga was happening, I was in the pits on my own, fixing my gearboxes, because the reason it stopped completely in the first fight was, I got one side smashed up, but the other side had an actual mechanical issue. So I had Pulsar in bits trying to fix it on the off chance that they would need a replacement, and on the off chance that would be me. So of course they don't show that on the show. On the show it just seems like, oh, we're ready to go again. But we've missed like a full, I don't know what, 12 hours from, or maybe not 12 hours, maybe 8 hours or something, from the morning through to the evening of that day, where it was interesting because actually the pro BBC pictures of Pulsar on the table happened after this fight, after my first fight, and the wheels are all floppy. In that fight, they're actually posed; they're not actually attached to the robot. So I was desperately trying to fix it in that same window. So it wasn't just like cut and dry from our point of view.
So Chompy's out.
Yep.
Then we got Ellis is put back in,
Yep.
and he's getting chance, and he's busy.
And what they don't show is you polishing up your scoop, going, Professional Sharky, mine works still.
Oh, me?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, I was all over that.
Put me in, Professor.
I'm here, Professor Sharky. I'm
My scoop's all shiny.
Just praying that Ellis is dead as well.
Yeah, no, I can't fix it, mate.
Yeah,
Jammed up with ice cream.
there's loads of ice cream bits in there. What's all happening here? Oh, I just spilled my ice cream.
Got ice cream in me brushless.
In with brushless motor, exactly. Anyway, no, I was enjoying ice creams and just generally in the pits. So, Ellis is back in, Pulsar's back in, and then
Back. And at this point, I'm thinking the interview's back on track now.
Will's
Yes.
worried about the interview. Shit, we got someone else that went out in the first round.
A couple of losers.
Ellis, he actually texted me. What the?
I didn't say what the fuck. I said
And
poor
you-
Ellis.
Oh, he did.
Poor Ellis is what I wrote.
He wrote poor Ellis because he thought he'd gone out in the.
I appreciate that. Can you imagine though? Like, I know all of this stuff has happened, and I've had to keep it a complete. Obviously, and we all did. But we had to keep it a secret from the public and from people and from supporters and family and
Everyone.
essentially from family as well, because it would spoil it if we told anyone. So knowing that all of this is coming was fairly horrible. In the sense that I didn't know how they were going to play it. Like, I didn't know if it were going to come across as cheeky or as anything.
Like a drunk hobbit.
They like
exactly.
Or
Floppy hair,
Gollum.
Justin
They
Bieber
got some
wannabe.
footage of Ellis going up to Chompalot and puncturing a factory, walking off.
Yeah,
Looking like Smeagol. Oh, the ring is mine. Like that. So he didn't though, and it was
or
actually
the
going
Simpsons guy going.
So, what's the next fight? Oh, Beast vs Ironside.
Yeah, Beast versus Ironside.
So, what happens here? We've got pretty much. There's a bit of back and forth thing here. I'm expecting Beast. This is what I'm expecting. Beast to just flip over Ironside 3 and it's done. But I think they're having drive issues again, or they're having some sort of issues with the flipper because it's not really doing very much. Is it?
It seems to start off fine from what I remember from the fight. Beast is driving quite well, and they were managing to stop Ironside from spinning up fully.
Yeah.
Although then Ironside again is very well driven, so they kind of away and eventually managed to get up to speed. Beast. I'm just watching it back now. Actually, I'm kind of doing a live commentary.
Yeah.
So Beast is still going fine, up until the point where they take a hit. I know they're still going fine. So I think they were doing well actually.
But in each of these
Better than
cases, I'm thinking that Beast gets his tyres taken out, which
so
are exposed, aren't they? Really? Yes,
now
when
it's
all said and
limping
done.
actually. Yeah. So it must have got a small hit on the left-hand wheel because I can see it's driving around that a bit. And from that point on, it allowed Ironside to get away, spin up, and then come in with a big hit.
Yeah.
And that smashed in the other wheel, so it was done.
That's it. Yeah. It's
Well, I'm looking at it now, actually, and Ironside is full up to speed. You can't even see the bar. And they're the hit. So, sorry, I'm just doing a live commentary here.
No, that's good. So, so Beast basically fighting Ironside. They're actually doing pretty well until they get one of their wheels broken, and then they're pretty much in the same position again, exposed wheels, going around in circles, not doing very much.
I think they and everybody kind of, maybe not expected, but kind of hoped that they would go much further than they did.
So the next head-to-head was Gabriel. You went in there against Ironside 3.
It's me up against like Homer Simpson, like a robot going in against it.
Which is very weird. After my next comment in my notes,
Go on then.
Mrs. Gabriel was so floppy.
I just couldn't get it up. What? I just couldn't get excited enough.
And Gabriel was taking hits.
Gabriel was floppy because he's changed his weapon over to his sort of, and that's a big old piece of HDPE.
His weird flaccid thing
HDPE
hanging
rod,
off
isn't it?
Gabriel.
Interestingly, or some sort of plastic rod.
It's HDPE solid bar rod, but because it's so long,
It's like 50mm diameter or something like that.
Yeah, 50mm diameter with a sort of, what does he call it? He calls it his
Pickaxe.
Looks like a garden kind of,
A hoe?
but double-sided.
Right.
Yeah, double-ended hoe.
Where's the hose? If Will Bales
show is
heard
this?
that would
He
be
was-
lost in translation.
So Gabriel was channeling his inner Will Bales of his garden instrumentation.
Yeah. And what's he doing?
It's no rake though.
No rake.
It's not right. Exactly.
And he was taking the hits, but he's really weirdly floppy. Just like they just bounce off him, don't they?
It's all over the place.
This is like a perfect example of Craig's design philosophy, which is just kind of don't let them hit you. But partly because it's so tall, all of the impacts just hit the wheels and don't actually hit any of the sensitive stuff. And because the wheels are so big and floppy that that massive energy from Ironside just kind of goes into banging a drum, and everything just kind of goes blur. After, like, if it was hitting, if it were hitting something metal, then there would have been huge bangs. But obviously, the idea of big floppy absorbing plastic, which is what I was sort of trying to do with mine, but obviously failed, works really well, and this is a really perfect demonstration of that.
You weren't floppy enough, though. That was the problem.
Too turgid.
Stop it.
What?
That's disgusting. Right. Anyway, so basically, who wins that fight?
So the wheel tread was falling off Gabriel, and then he got stuck on the flame pit.
Lots of hits.
It's just some weirdness.
Roasted down.
And then he survived the fight, but Ironside 3 had the lion's share of the action.
I think
What happened was
he got it on the judges.
Gabriel's got quite an interesting torque, as I said on the show, a torque limiting system on the wheels. I don't know why really. They're such huge wheels, it's maybe so they can't over torque the relatively normal size motors inside or something. But what happened is basically one just started slipping, and that was that really.
And it just reminded me of a big marshmallow.
Delicious.
So
But very resilient.
Ironside 3 won that one.
Yep.
Next one.
There's this guy called Pulsar.
Oh.
And he's back in.
them-
I don't know where they came
Which
from.
one is this? Pulsar V.
Beast.
Oh, this is a good one. Ellis, talk us through this one.
So for this one, lots of hype, obviously, because we had to win it basically to have any chance of win it by knockout. In fact, probably to have any chance of the next fight being worthwhile having. So lots of pressure on, and obviously the sense of needing to perform because of coming back in. Unfortunately, I actually still had radio issues that were the same reason I had dodgy driving in the first fight. I still had radio signal problems, and it was a bit better in this one. But I think I spoke to John later on, and they too had radio issues. So we were both, unfortunately, limping a little bit in this one.
So can we confirm that you appear to have like intermittent drive issues, but is it actually radio issues?
It's a different issue, actually. It starts off for this fight and for the four-way that... Pulsar is essentially a very, very tightly sealed Hardox box, and that is kind of, if you want to block radio signals, you build what I built, and then you add on loads of people in the audience with phones and stuff on, and a massive arena like a Faraday cage. So all in all, both he and I had very bad radio signal. So that's why I kind of, one side seems to die and then it kind of comes back a bit and that sort of thing, and the weapon sometimes slows down randomly and stuff. That's actually it dipping in and out of signal.
Right, got you.
Is this something you can figure out for next time?
Oh yeah, definitely. Yeah, it was essentially just because I used the same receiver and transmitter setup that I use in the featherweights because it works, and that's a very normal, cheap 2.4 gig setup. So for next time, I'll probably use a satellite receiver, which kind of should be able to just ignore all of this, and it should just work.
Is that what the other big boys use?
I really don't know. I think Pulsar is probably a special case because it's so tightly sealed. Like it would probably hold water fairly well. I made it really well sealed because of the flames. So there's no way in anywhere for flames, and that's kind of the side effect of that is that it's very, very well sealed and very thick. So just kind of nature of the design.
That's cool. So you won that one, KO. You're still in it. How are you feeling at that point?
I can't really remember. Tentatively positive, maybe might be the safest way to describe it, because we had still a massive mountain to climb.
Did you feel relieved that you'd got there and won a fight?
Yeah, quietly positive. At least now I've had 2 televised fights, and the second one was quite good. And I'm guaranteed 3 by this point. So yeah, definitely the mood was up.
So we'll leave you to one side and we'll go on to head-to-head 5, which was Gabriel and Beast. The live circuit they must have met with...
Oh, loads of times. Every time, at least twice. He's probably fought him like 4 times a weekend over the last 6 or 7 years. Every weekend,
Yeah.
Not every weekend.
every weekend.
Well, very frequent. They probably
Very
had
frequent.
like 50 to 100 fights together over the past 5 or 8 years.
So he definitely knows what he's up against. With those very similar...
With those exact robots, pretty much.
With a variant on
Same
Beast,
as-
definitely, and either Saint or Gabriel for the other team, yeah.
Yeah. So anyway, he pretty much takes it to him, doesn't he?
Well, there were some heavy blows on Beast, and he looked like he still had some drive issues.
From the very beginning, they just kind of, I don't know what was going on there. It looks to me, I don't think you can really have a power problem as such. For the most part, these experienced teams will have something that either works or doesn't work. But I'm wondering, maybe the rims were spinning inside the tyres or something like that.
He was having problems. I know that he was having problems with his tyres, and he was.
Yeah, I remember something like that, and that seems to me like that might have been what's going on. In fact, the central hub seemed to be spinning without a robot actually moving. That seems to me like might be what happened. So they were kind of doomed from the off, unfortunately.
It's a shame they don't seem to call it during the fight.
They haven't got a ref, have they?
No.
It's not BattleBots.
But they don't even call it like a cease during the fight.
No.
Someone off screen could be counting.
Yeah.
It was a judge's decision, they said, but they also later on called it a knockout. So
they gave it the points of a knockout, so it was a knockout.
Yeah, it was a bit awkward, that one.
Okay.
Kind of something that needs clarifying, I think.
Okay. Yeah.
So then we go on to head-to-head 6. The winner takes it all.
Oh, the winner takes it all. Can you talk us through this one, Ellis? Because this is you, isn't it?
Well, obviously this one...
Against Ironside 3, it has to be.
Yeah, Ironside 3. So it's a big one for obvious reasons. A, we need to win it to stay in the competition. And B, it's against Ironside, which did all that damage in the first place and is a very good robot. So went into the fight, mild nerves. In fact, I've got some little bits that I forgot to put on the front of Pulsar. They're little blocks of HDPE plastic, thick plastic, that bolt either side of the weapon on the wedge. In fact, those, if you ever look at a picture, you'll see that there are 2 holes either side of the wedge that I never got anything in them, but they're actually to bolt those extra cheeks on. The idea of those is that if a horizontal comes in, it smacks those and it takes the energy out of hitting the bulkhead supports or the drum itself. So I actually forgot completely to install those, and that really kind of just kind of unnerved me before the fight. I kind of thought, oh my god.
Oh, so they weren't in place in the first fight?
No.
Because you'd forgotten them. You then
Well, I
decided
can't remember why I didn't have them in the first fight. I think it might have been time.
All right. And then you decided that you definitely need them and then forgot to put them on.
And then I literally just forgot. I forgot. I mean, I'm probably a bit busy doing something else. I can't remember. But I forgot to do it. But then I realised once the robot was in the arena and all ready to go.
Oh, and you went,
Easy, get your sleep, boy.
You got to. And you went, oh, crap.
It really threw me off before the fight. So, no, and obviously we all knew it was going to be a big one.
So
Terrible.
But then you wind up and...
Yep.
And they wind up.
And they wind up.
At speed. There's some kind of dipping and diving.
And this is what everyone's been waiting for. All the Roboteers are watching this one. When you have 2 spinners collide, there's always people watching.
Well, this is the first fight where Pulsar actually drives relatively well.
Yes.
It still seems to kind of lose it on one side every now and then, and that might have been a connection or something. In fact, you know what? I can remember that was a connection. That was a third issue that happened. Again, all very very similar in terms of how they manifest in the show, but it was actually 3 different issues. And so we just kind of drive around a bit. I manage to get up to speed, they get up to speed, and we collide weapon to weapon, and I happen to come out on top, so they are flung upwards and upside down. I leave them to sit. They were flipped, yeah, so they're upside down by this point. And the edit from the episode shows that they were upside down before I actually hit them again, because I come in again after they've been flipped upside down, because I've got people and my own mind kind of telling me, well, this is Robot Wars, so I can't just leave it there. So I went in again, but actually, according to the iPlayer edit, then that was already 11 seconds. But by the time that they kind of settled upside down to when I actually went in again.
Yeah, I counted that myself as well, actually.
Yeah, so technically they were out already by that point. And then I shove them around a bit and grind on them when they're upside down, and their self-righting arm is very slowly coming up. I'm not sure quite why it was so slow. It
didn't seem that good.
They unfortunately, because obviously I pushed them into Sakai, and I kind of got a bit stuck myself, but I managed to get out of the way. And then you can actually see that it's kind of propped up on its arm rather than actually being turned over by it.
I don't think that arm works.
No, it did. It was just incredibly slow.
It did work.
No,
It's
I
just-
don't think it does. I'm thinking about it. I think because of how their spinner was, it wouldn't work, would it?
If the
Doesn't their
spinner is
spinner have to be?
No, it misses it. It does miss
Yeah,
it.
but he's saying if the bar is sideways, so it's
Oh, of course.
Yeah.
No, you're
wouldn't
right.
work,
It's
it
like a
was
kickstand. Yeah.
yeah, so it would just kind of again.
If the bar is sticking out sideways, it would never open, would it?
Yeah, and actually in that impact, interestingly, you can actually see it on the floor. Their Anderson connector, their link fell out for the weapon. The drive.
Yeah. So that's it. They've lost it. They've lost it at that point.
And in fact, their self-righting arm was up as well. So I wonder if that one held the self-righter as well. I don't know.
That was probably doing the weapon and self-righter, wasn't it? So basically, they're still coming. They come back with a bit of pushing.
So they come back,
and they actually
my dad
think.
shouts, "They're back in! They're back in!" And we go back to.
Now, what's happened to you at this point?
So at this point, two issues, as I was saying. The first one is the reason it kind of drives a bit funky sometimes during this fight and fine at other points is, of all things, one of the banana connectors, that's a weird name, they're also called gold plugs, that plugs into the brushless drive motors had actually come loose. And that was making intermittent connections. So that's why sometimes it was working fine on one side, sometimes it was kind of driving around one wheel.
Right.
And that was kind of making and breaking connection during this fight. Then also in that impact, we saw the first problem that Pulsar had in the later fight, where a big shock seemed to kill it. So I hadn't twigged by this point, because it was the end of the fight, that if I turn off the transmitter and turn it back on again, I could get it back online. So that's why I never come back online and I get pushed down the pit.
But I think then it went to a judge's decision, didn't it?
In the booth, it was commiserations to us, and they were celebrating, and we were celebrating for them.
Really? Okay.
Yeah. Because as far as everyone was concerned, cease wasn't called, and I mean, as
so they thought they'd won it at that point.
Yeah.
Oh.
So and we thought they'd won it. I mean, I knew that it didn't feel very good, but I thought that they'd taken it, and that was that. And of course, eventually, I do think rightly, although it is, I'm fully kind of sincerely understand that it's a bitter pill for those guys. That I think. The judge's decision was correct, that they were upside down and unable to move for actually a full 35 seconds.
Oh no, I'm going to definitely go with that. I didn't have a shadow of a doubt that they'd lost that fight, because it was very clear that they couldn't self-right, and it would have made me furious, because otherwise, why didn't someone come and, like Matilda, come and flip me back over halfway through the fight?
All right,
that's the same thing.
Well, that's the thing. People are saying that it was very controversial, but actually. I think it would be much more controversial if the initial decision, aka we went in the pit first, was the end ruling. I think that would have been, and not just because I was involved and obviously I want to do well. I think genuinely that would have been the wrong decision here.
Definitely,
and that's nothing to do with the guys involved. I know they were very upset, and it was quite upsetting. But I think this was the right way round for it to happen.
Definitely.
I think from the other side, though, you would see it as we were going to flip ourselves over. We stayed in that fight, and then we won. Like,
well, as I say,
if you were that other roboteer, you'd feel like that. But it's understandable.
It was made worse because at first we all agreed that they won it, and then it flipped back to us.
Exactly.
That kind of amplified it. That felt more like it was a bit like giving someone a golden prize and then taking it away again.
Sorry, that's not yours. So okay.
That I can imagine, and I'm sympathetic with them because that's not fun.
And then we've got the next fight,
the final,
which is between Pulsar and
Gabriel.
So, had you have to do a lot of fixing before this fight?
Yeah, so at this point we knew that there was this new issue. We discovered that the connector was a problem, and that actually had burnt out that speed controller completely. So we had to replace that. But we still knew. I knew that there was another issue where it kind of conked out completely, and we completely turned the wiring of Pulsar inside out to try and find out what the hell was going on with it. That why did it just stop? Because we couldn't get it to recreate. We couldn't recreate the failure on the bench. Which is typical Robot Wars, where works fine on the bench but not in the arena. We were frantic trying to figure out what's wrong. I was changing programming parameters on the speed controller so that if I couldn't even fix it, at least could I make it so that it would come back online itself. Which is not really a fix, but it sort of is. That there was lots of pressure on to try and get it to perform.
So this one, do you know what? Now Esme Esme, we were watching Esme's on the team and my daughter, and she went, "Oh my God, look at Ellis drive," like that. Because this is the point where you do that super sweep round the pit. It's amazing.
That was in the previous fight, wasn't it?
Was it? Oh no!
Yeah, I think it was in
this is the one where you were sliding a lot.
No, this way. This is the run where you do some really nice power slides.
It was fast in this fight with Gabriel.
And you were coming in, and you were like tiny little robot. Appearing, ripping a chunk out the wheels. It's flashing.
It's like a roller skate.
It's like and it's like being attacked by a roller skate. But it's a vicious roller skate that packs an almighty punch, and you just rip.
It's like his tagline.
Yeah,
Pulsar, a vicious roller skate that packs a mighty punch.
How to just completely undermine it.
It's the bit where you come underneath and you give it a full-on square onto the wheel, rip through both wheels, like that, and it's because they're so floppy and flappy. They almost don't look like they moved at all, but you've torn a chunk.
The chunk comes out, the tread's all off.
The tread's all off. It's just pulled a chunk out.
It's much less kind of visual than when Ironside was hitting it, because being vertical, they have to be flipped upwards in the air, whereas with sideways, the wheels go all wibbly wobbly and flop sideways. So I actually spoke to Craig afterwards, and he was really surprised by how much damage Pulsar's drum had caused to the wheels, because it's going the opposite direction to the wheels. The wheels are vertical, whereas the drum kind of wants to pull stuff off them sideways because of the directions it's going in.
Exactly.
And there were great big chunks and gashes that had been pulled out of the wheels. You never really see on the show. You can see one or two of them in glimpses, but they were quite sliced up, and it was back and forth, and eventually.
You were kind of intermittently quite immobile at times as well.
Yeah. So this is the third and final issue that Pulsar seemed to have, and it was electrical again, where shocks would just kind of make it conk out, and we still aren't entirely sure what was going on in this fight. But I mean, there was one part where I drive a bit too fast and I skid into the arena wall, and then it just kind of stops dead from the shock of that.
Yeah.
And then what I'm actually doing in the booth is I'm turning off the transmitter and turning it back on again, which is kind of hilarious because that's like the most low-tech fix, and it actually does work in this case. So that's why it would stop dead, and then it would come back again 4 or 5 seconds later because I've reset it in the booth.
Yeah.
And I don't know what facial expressions I was pulling at the time, but I'm surprised it didn't show any because it would have been entertaining.
This is a quality fight, this one. I liked it. There was
good fun.
There was great driving. There was some good whacks from both sides. But I think clear to me who the winner was.
Yeah, I mean, there's no real damage from Gabriel, I don't think, is there?
No, they got one hit.
There's one fairly good hit on your roof of your robot, wasn't there?
Yeah,
is that going to do much apart from the shock thing?
No, apart from the shock thing, no, not really. In truth, I mean, it's a heavy hitter, but the top on the Pulsar is 4.5mm thick Armox, so it would be shock if anything, but it's not going to dent in the top or anything.
Cool. And you take it and you win, which is awesome. I was so tense during that last fight. I really was, because I was like every time Pulsar stopped. Oh, it's not just stopped. It's not going to. It's going again, and it was like stop and start. It was really good. I
think it was probably one of the most thrilling final fights in terms of, as I say, like top back and forth. It wasn't clean cut completely, and as I say, lots of action, lots of visually interesting stuff went on. So I think lots of people actually really liked this fight.
Definitely,
which is nice.
And the thing about Gabriel is it's such a resilient robot. You know it's going to make the 3 minutes as well.
Yeah,
exactly. Yeah. I knew going into this, there's nothing I can do with it. What can I do? All I can just do is nibble at the wheels. I'm not going to make it stop working. That would have to be a fault within the robot itself. There's probably nothing I can do to actually stop this robot. So I knew, and as I think I said in the post-fight interview thing, that I had to be aggressive in this fight. I had to win on aggression.
Yeah.
So and I think eventually that's what got it.
Excellent. Thank you very much, Ellis. So we got some questions.
Yep.
Message from Joe. Okay, and he says, tell us your backgrounds in robotic combat and the most useful skills and tools you've had to enable building such complex beasts. Now, Joe, did you listen to the last podcast?
He definitely did not listen. This is the exact same, because he just copied the question.
I know.
Is he taking the piss? Is he taking the piss? There's a smile afterwards. I can see this question.
Would you say this question is of average quality? Because that would make him an average Joe.
No, because...
That would be a compliment to him.
I'm trying not to be furious with you, Joe, but Con, if you ask a question, you've got to listen to the frickin' podcast. But Ellis, quickly, give me your background in robotic combat and useful skills.
Okay, so I have been watching Robot Wars since I was 3 or 4. I remember my first series, I think, was Series 3 as a 3 to 4 year old that I was propped up in front of the TV to watch. So my memory and interest in the sport goes back years, pretty much my entire life, conscious life. Didn't get involved until I joined the UK forum for this sort of stuff. Once I rediscovered it and kind of realised that it still exists outside of the TV, or because by this point it was well off the air. I discovered the FRA forum, and I joined up. I think I joined in like 2009 or something.
Yeah.
But I didn't really do much until about 2011, early 2011, when I bought some parts. So I bought some drills, or with my dad at this point, because I was doing the research, but my dad was still very much, crucial to.
So you basically put some stuff together, started building a robot. Now, who
made
taught
a pram
you?
wheel featherweight.
Who taught you
Yep.
to build robots?
Well,
we know the answer. You taught yourself.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, it's just like I suppose anyone that I had my own ideas and stuff. I've yet to buy a machine in that sort of style. Our approach was always to build it, and that was partly because we used to live abroad and there was no machine to buy, so we had to build them. So no, we came in from the deep end. Our first robot was called Tormentor. It was made out of chopping boards from the local corner shop because, thick plastic. I'd seen other people using thick plastic, and well, a chopping board is thick plastic, so why not? Turns out massively brittle like glass, and it got smashed up by the later crowned 2012. That was our first event, 2012 champion in the featherweight class. So that's kind of where it all started, and obviously deep, serious learning curves. By getting smashed up and stuff in the full combat stuff. Always did full combat stuff, and just kind of year on year new machines, and to this point. And in terms of useful skills, I would say probably there's obvious stuff like learning basic electronics and the mechanical skills and how to use machines, but probably one of the single most important things is just research at that and being attentive. So if your machine didn't work in a fight, don't just kind of wonder what happened and then put it in again the next fight. Dig in, find out, and then more importantly, fix it. And if you can't fix it, find out, because then you'll be able to fix it for next time, or not do that same thing next time. That's probably the single most important thing, I'd say, is just pay attention to your own machine. Listen to the things it's telling you when it's not working properly, and kind of expand on that always.
Now we've got another one here. We had a bit of a complaint, which I'm just going to cover now, and I'm not going to get serious about it.
Seems unlikely.
This should be rated a 15. My once confident 14-year-old son is now a recluse as a direct result of hearing the F word on your show. The only way out of this is for you to provide a birth certificate that clearly states that Will Bale's middle name is indeed the F word. Now, I'm not going to start. I'm going to get furious.
It's fucking ridiculous.
Yeah, it is fucking ridiculous. And that's Felix. Felix sent that in. I'm going to take it as a valid complaint. However, we do have as explicit on there. I do question your parenting, letting a minor listen to it. And I'm not the sort of person that digs up coal.
Although it would be quite good to listen to if you're in the mines digging up coal.
If you're in the mines digging up coal.
Great to pass the time.
Exactly. Now, now I'm getting less furious. Ellis, you are of the correct age, are you not? So we're not going to be exactly.
They say I'm 19, but I'm actually 20.
He's 20.
That's what he tells the girls.
He hasn't got time for girls. and then he will do it. Insomnia. I'm going to get his Sharpie out, and he's going to be signing stuff.
Yeah, we're joking about that.
We all know where he puts his Sharpie.
Exactly. Keeps it in his pocket. Anyway, so we've covered that one off as well. So that's it. Now we're just going to do the last thing.
No, there's that question I sent you.
Which one?
We have to answer that question that I sent you.
Which one?
The one that I keep forgetting to answer.
Right, okay. Hi guys, love the show.
Give this guy his proper dues. He's been waiting for this question for like 3 episodes.
Yes. Potentially controversial question. With seemingly every episode of Robot Wars this year, there has been a fight decided by the removable link. I understand the vital role that a foolproof kill switch has in keeping everyone safe, but at what point does a part that is by its very purpose removable without a tool by a person become more of a design constraint than a necessary safety feature, especially given robo games which does not mandate removable links and has never had an injury caused by a robot going berserk that is failing to be deactivated, a la Robot Wars Series 3, which is what prompted the mandatory link rule in the first place. There is, after all, always going to be danger without combat robotics, and trade-offs between safety and performance must be made. Otherwise, we'd be limited. Follow. So, what do you think? Movable links, Alice? Yes or no?
The Bible is this quoted from?
It must be from Matthew.
Who was that question from? Sorry.
He didn't give me a name.
Is there not a name?
No, Alistair.
So thanks for a very concise question.
Yep.
And it's basically removable links, yes or no?
Links versus switches, the old.
Well, no, he doesn't want one.
Question.
Well, I mean, a switch would be better than a link, surely,
Why?
because you can't pull it out.
Yeah, but that's the problem.
That's the idea, though, isn't it?
Okay.
Now, Ellis, would you be happy for someone who's built a robot that you don't know or is sketchy at best not to have a removable link?
No, because the problem with switches, as far as I see it, and I've never built a robot, they tend to be with a switch. They tend to be.
I was going to say, you just said I've never built a robot.
Hang on
a second.
Turns out this is all a lie.
Yeah.
But no, I've never built a robot with a switch, and for the most part, they are operated by an Allen key. So it'll be like a screw that screws in and out and makes contact. The problem I have with that is, and you seem to see it quite often, that well, firstly, it requires a tool, which immediately makes it more complicated. But secondly, you've got to feed an Allen key through a hole in your robot, and then successfully engage it in the screw, and then successfully twiddle the screw long enough to break contact, and then you've got to have your hand kind of very nearby the machine for a long time to do this. And then you're holding onto something which is stuck in the robot. If that robot goes AWOL at that point, then you're basically along for the ride. Your hand is holding onto something, and I just don't know. I don't see how it's safer than something where you can just possibly at most flip open a door, grab a thing, and run.
The main thing that Alice is getting at is that removable links fell out. You know, they fall out, don't they? Now,
but this is a design constraint.
No, but it's not because
No, but that's fine. It's fine because everyone knows it is a design constraint.
Yeah. It's like having it's like saying you must have that.
If it falls out, you fucked up.
Yeah.
Like there's no.
That's kind of it, really. That's the kind of brutal truth. Some people have the problem all the time, and other people go through their entire robot combat career without the issue. So I don't really know what the difference is.
A little door.
That's what I did for Pulsar. I've split up the machine's links into several links so that it's not just one great big one. Because of course, the bigger it is, unless the connection to the other half of it is really firm, then the bigger it is, the more inertia it's got, the more likely it is to pull itself out in a big shock. So I went with really quite small connectors. I used DC5s
and because your hand's a little.
Well, there's that as well,
Yes,
and also the robot is
you
small.
can't hold one of those big Andersons because it's like holding a cake.
The classic Anderson connector is like the height of my robot, so I can't.
It is actually the height of his robot.
So, and they seem to work fine. I did have little link flappy doors that kind of push over the top of the wire so they can't come out, and I didn't have any issues.
I think there were just a couple in one episode, wasn't there?
Yeah, there were one or two. I mean, it's fairly common. It happens in the smaller weight classes quite often as well.
It does.
I mean, it was
Gabe?
surprising how many did fall out.
Hey, don't go on about that. Look, Ellis, I invited them to Guildford, right? Do you know, I fucking even bought you tickets, I reckon.
I don't think you bought them.
No, I bought the tickets for you. They came to Guildford, and my robot, which I'd produced, Legion, the third one, I made it with a full pressure system. It was really a test.
Was this before Ellis was involved?
Yeah.
This is pre-Ellis generation.
This is pre-Ellis. But no, listen, I was testing the full pressure system so I could go to Ellis with saying, this is what I want inside it. Because he hadn't done flipping
Because the
before.
gas system is the same one, just
the gas system's the same one that I designed, right? So I put it together. However, because I did it last minute, the link stuck out the top. So every time it flipped, it landed on its link and broke it open. So they just won't let it lie.
What a waste of an afternoon.
Oh, you saw loads of good fights.
We saw some good robots, but we were there to see your robot.
Every time, Ellis. Honestly, it's like dealing with children.
I'm glad Ellis is involved now. You've got some television fight winning pedigree.
Well, you've now in Legion the fuse, the fuse that the rules require that you have to protect the lipo in case of a fire, and obviously that doesn't work very often. But that is the link, isn't it, in Legion?
Not anymore, actually. Not anymore.
Oh, isn't it?
I've rewired, so now it's not.
So if it falls out, it isn't my fault now.
It's an EC5 now.
I'm ready for some fuse bailing.
There will be none, because it's perfect. Still got its door, it's perfect, and it's going to be genius.
It better be.
So there was another question. So he also said some
further questioning.
He banged on about...
Don't just say banged on. These are our fans.
He continued.
He continued on. He said, according to the FRA...
Yeah.
The arenas at live events are safer than the battle box.
Is that by their ratings they would be safer, but actually they're not?
Well,
under what?
So Ellis is getting bemused.
Under what criteria?
That's what I'm going to say. Because what we're not at this point, we're not in the right area for answering. So we need to read the rules. So I'm going to read the rules.
I think I know what they mean.
Oh, go on then.
I think it's going to be to do with at the live events and in most UK events, you've got something called the bullpen. where the robot can be armed up, where the builder is standing on the outside.
Balls. No.
Oh, okay.
Will's pointing to his balls, not that sort of
Oh no,
balls.
bull as in like,
Oh, okay.
Like a
horns
bull.
and moo and
Oh,
stuff.
Not
right.
balls.
Yeah,
So
Toreador.
Ellis, carry on with that. So they
Oh,
arm
yeah,
from the
they've
outside.
They've got a little kind of section that's separate on the outside
Yes,
of the arena
yeah.
where you can load up your thing and then the robot. And then
You can prime up your
or
balls.
whatever it's called, and you can then from the outside, leaning over a barrier, you can turn it on and then you drive it into the arena. And I can quite see that would be considered safer because if something goes wrong, then you're not in the arena with it. Whereas at BattleBots, the turn-on sequence, someone is actually in the arena on the arena floor with your robot when you turn it on. Which I do genuinely agree is a bit hairy, but I can see that under those circumstances, that it's not really the arena is safer though, is it? It's just a different way of doing it. In terms of who would I be happier? Who would I be happier to have? Tombstone spinning up in one of the UK live event shows, which isn't designed for it, or the battle box. Every time the battle box is safer.
I'm going to go. The battle box is safer every time.
Yeah,
this is classic American bashing again, I reckon.
I think there's some weird criteria by which the battle box is less safe than UK.
Yes,
that's crazy.
It's if you go and hug the robot in the UK one or in the American one and not in the UK one, then that makes the American one less safe.
Yeah.
But common sense would dictate that the battle box is safer than live events.
Yeah.
We're going to finish now.
Ellis, did you have any sponsors you'd like to thank?
I do. If you've got about a week.
Go for it.
Make it snappy.
Well, make it snappy. So I had 6 main companies supply stuff for Pulsar, and then Wranglebox on top being my own, obviously.
That's great, thanks.
Go for them, Ellis.
Good
So in no particular order, I've got Cork CNC, and that's actually at yahoo.com because he doesn't have a website, and he did loads and loads of CNC machining, and he's a really nice guy. He does really personal work. It's cool. Telfer Plastics, they made all of the CNC routed side armour for Pulsar, and yes, it didn't work in the show, but that's not their fault. They did a fantastic job. Then K-Cut, which everybody knows K-Cut, they are Hardock's water jetting company, and they made the entire chassis for Pulsar, so that was really good. GWR Fasteners supplied all of the bolts, and obviously Pulsar is covered in bolts, including the really shiny, nice blue goldy ones called their Colour Fast ones. Then Start Workwear made our team clothing, so all of our hoodies and tops and stuff, and all of our nice little logo. And then Proto Labs made some more CNC stuff, and they're just around the corner, and they did it in like 48 hours flat, and they were really good.
And they made your drum, didn't they?
They didn't actually make the drum in the end, but they made the weapon motor support and the wheel block bearings.
Oh, sweet.
And,
Okay, so there was
all of our aerospace, and they did it in like 36 hours or something.
Brilliant. Okay, cool. That's brilliant.
And of course...
Oh, and there's another company, Wrangle something. Oh no, you've probably heard of it.
Wranglebox.com.
Wranglebox.com.
It's an easy mistake to make. Anyway, so we're going to wind it up now.
All right.
Because it's been going on too long. So can you do the finishing thing?
So, Ellis, it's been lovely having you on.
Thank you, sir.
All the best in the final.
Definitely.
Yeah, thank you.
And thank you, everyone, for listening. I've been Will Cedric.
I'm Gabe.
I'm Ellis.
And this has been Inside the Pot.